I have been asked many times, what's the secret to success? And people expect me to say something profound, something complex. It's simple. Not easy, mind you, but simple. Stop caring what other people think of you. Now, I can see some of you shifting in your seats. But you're thinking, isn't that selfish? Isn't that inconsiderate? No, it's not. And I will tell you why. You see, when you live your life based on other people's perceptions, you're not really living your life at all. You're living theirs. You're letting their fears, their limitations, their expectations dictate your choices. And let me tell you, that's no way to live. I remember when I was just starting out. I was broke, discouraged, and didn't know which way was up. And I had plenty of people telling me what I should do. Get a steady job, they said. Play it safe, they said. Don't rock the boat. And for a while, I listened. I tried to fit in, to meet their expectations. And you know what? I was miserable. Because deep down, I knew I was meant for more. I had dreams, big dreams. Dreams that scared me, sure, but also excited me. It wasn't until I stopped caring what others thought, until I started listening to that voice inside me, that things began to change. It wasn't easy. I faced criticism, doubt, even ridicule. But I kept going. Those people who were so quick to tell me what I should do, they weren't living my life. They weren't the ones who had to wake up every morning and look in the mirror. That was me. And I decided that if I was going to have to face myself every day, I would better be someone I respected. Now, I'm not saying you should ignore everyone's opinion. That would be foolish. There's wisdom to be gained from others, especially those who've walked the path before you. But there's a big difference between seeking advice and letting others dictate your life. You've got to learn to filter, to take what serves you and leave the rest, to trust your own instincts, your own judgment, because at the end of the day, you're the one who has to live with your choices. I've met so many people over the years who are living lives of quiet desperation. They've got good jobs, nice houses, all the trappings of success. But when you talk to them, really talk to them, you can see the regret in their eyes, the what-ifs and if-onlys. They chose security over passion. They chose fitting in over standing out. They chose other people's approval over their own dreams. And you know what? It's never too late to change that. It's never too late to start living authentically, to start pursuing your dreams, to start being true to yourself. But it starts with a decision to stop caring what others think and start caring what you think. A decision to stop living someone else's life and start living your own. Okay. Now, I can hear some of you thinking, but what if I make the wrong decision? What if I fail? What if you succeed? What if you take that risk, pursue that dream, and it turns out better than you ever imagined? Isn't that possibility worth the risk of failure? Failure. It's not fatal. It's not final. It's just feedback. It's information telling you what doesn't work so you can figure out what does. I have failed more times than I can count. But each failure taught me something. Each setback made me stronger, more resilient. And each time I got back up, I was one step closer to success. Success isn't about avoiding failure. It's about not letting failure stop you. It's about persisting in the face of obstacles, learning from your mistakes, and keeping your eyes on the prize. And the prize isn't what others think of you. It's not their approval or their admiration. The real prize is becoming the best version of yourself. It's waking up every day knowing you're living your life on your terms, pursuing your passions, making your unique mark on the world. That's what I mean when I say, stop caring what others think. I'm not saying be rude or inconsiderate. I'm saying don't let their opinions, their fears, their limitations hold you back from becoming who you're meant to be. You've got something special inside you, something unique, something the world needs. But if you're too busy trying to fit in, trying to meet others' expectations, that something will never see the light of day. And that, my friends, would be a real tragedy. Not just for you, but for all the people whose lives you could touch, all the people you could inspire, all the difference you could make if you just had the courage to be yourself. I remember a young woman I met at one of my seminars. She was successful by most people's standards. Good job, nice car, the whole 9 yards. But she was miserable. She'd always dreamed of being a writer, but everyone told her it wasn't practical. Get a real job, they said. So she did. And for years, she buried her dream. She tried to convince herself she was happy, that she'd made the right choice. But deep down, she knew she was living a lie. After the seminar, she came up to me with tears in her eyes. "Jim," she said, "I'm done living for others. I'm going to write my book." Now, I would love to tell you it was easy for her, that she quit her job the next day and became a best-selling author overnight. But that's not how it works. She kept her day job. But she started writing in the evenings and on weekends. She faced doubt, both from others and from herself. She had moments where she wanted to give up, but she persisted. And you know what? 2 years later, she sent me a copy of her published book. It wasn't a bestseller. Not yet, anyway. But that wasn't the point. The point was, she'd done it. She'd been true to herself. She'd pursued her passion despite what others thought, and the joy in her voice when she called to thank me. Well, that was worth more than any bestseller list. That's what happens when you stop caring what others think and start being true to yourself. You find your joy. You find your purpose. You become who you were always meant to be. Now, I'm not saying it's easy. Living authentically, pursuing your dreams, it takes courage. It takes persistence. It takes a willingness to face your fears and push through them. What's the alternative? Living a life of what ifs and if onlys. Waking up every day knowing you're not being true to yourself. Reaching the end of your life and realizing you lived someone else's dream instead of your own. Is that really living? Or is it just existing? We've all been given a gift. The gift of life. The gift of potential. The gift of choice. But so many of us squander that gift. We let fear hold us back. We let others' opinions dictate our choices. We settle for less than we're capable of because we're afraid of what might happen if we reach for more. The world needs you. Not a watered-down version of you. Not a you that's trying to please everyone else. The world needs the real you, with all your quirks and passions and crazy ideas. Because that's where innovation comes from. That's where art comes from. That's where change comes from. It comes from people who aren't afraid to be different, who aren't afraid to stand out, who aren't afraid to be themselves. All the great innovators throughout history, the Wright brothers, Thomas Edison, Steve Jobs. Do you think they cared what others thought of them? Do you think they let popular opinion dictate their actions? Of course not. They had a vision, and they pursued it relentlessly, regardless of what others said or thought. And in doing so, they changed the world. Now, I'm not saying you have to invent the next iPhone or fly the first airplane, but I am saying you have something unique to offer. Something that only you can bring to the world. And if you don't bring it, if you let fear or doubt or other people's opinions hold you back, the world will be poorer for it. So how do you do it? How do you stop caring what others think and start living authentically? Well, it starts with knowing yourself. Really knowing yourself. Not who others think you should be, not who you think you should be, but who you really are at your core. What are your values? What matters most to you? What makes you come alive? What would you do even if you never got paid for it? These are the questions you need to ask yourself. And answering them isn't always easy. It requires honesty, self-reflection, and sometimes facing some uncomfortable truths. But it's worth it. Because once you know who you are, once you're clear on your values and what matters most to you, making decisions becomes easier. You have a compass to guide you, regardless of what others think or say. The next step is to start small. You don't have to upend your entire life overnight. Start by making small choices that align with your true self. Maybe it's speaking up in a meeting when you'd usually stay quiet. Maybe it's pursuing a hobby you've always been interested in, but were afraid others would think was silly. Each time you make a choice that's true to you, regardless of what others might think, you build a little more courage, a little more confidence. And over time, those small choices add up to big changes. Now, as you start living more authentically, you're going to face resistance. From others, sure, but also from yourself. That little voice in your head that says, "Who do you think you are? You can't do that. What will people think?" That voice is fear talking. And fear, while it has its place, is a terrible life coach. So when you hear that voice, acknowledge it. Thank it for trying to protect you. And then do it anyway. The only way to overcome fear is to face it. The only way to build confidence is to do the things that scare you. And the only way to become who you're meant to be is to stop letting fear dictate your choices. You're also going to face criticism. When you start living authentically, when you start pursuing your dreams and being true to yourself, some people aren't going to like it. They're going to criticize you, doubt you, maybe even try to bring you down. But here's what you need to remember. Their criticism says more about them than it does about you. It's a reflection of their fears, their insecurities, their limited beliefs about what's possible. So don't take it personally. Don't let it stop you. Instead, see it as a sign that you're on the right track. Because if you're not facing any criticism, if you're not ruffling any feathers, chances are you're playing it too safe. You're still living to please others instead of being true to yourself. Now, I'm not saying you should ignore all feedback. There's wisdom to be gained from others, especially those who've walked the path before you. But learn to filter that feedback. Take what serves you and leave the rest. And most importantly, trust yourself. Trust your instincts, your judgment, your ability to make decisions. Because at the end of the day, you're the one who has to live with those decisions. Not your critics, not your doubters, not even your well-meaning friends and family. You. So make choices that you can be proud of. Make choices that align with your values, that move you closer to your dreams, that allow you to look in the mirror each morning and respect the person looking back at you. Because that, my friends, is what success really looks like. It's not about the money in your bank account or the car in your driveway. It's about being true to yourself. It's about living a life of purpose and passion. It's about making a difference in your own unique way. And you can't do that if you're constantly worrying about what others think. You can't do that if you're letting their opinions and expectations dictate your choices. When you live true to yourself, when you stop caring what others think and start living authentically, amazing things happen. You find your purpose. You unlock your potential. You become who you were always meant to be. And in doing so, you inspire others to do the same. You create a ripple effect of authenticity and courage that can change not just your life, but the lives of those around you. Something that often prevents people from living an authentic life. He is afraid of judgment. It's a powerful force, isn't it? For fear that others will look at us, shake their heads and say, "What were they thinking?" But here's the thing about judgment. It's inevitable. No matter what you do, no matter how you live your life, someone, somewhere is going to judge you. So why not give them something worth judging? Why not live a life so bold, so authentic, so true to yourself that it makes people stop and take notice? The people who judge you for living your truth are usually the ones who don't have the courage to live their own. I remember a young man I met years ago. He was working in finance, making good money, but he was miserable. His real passion was music. He'd been playing guitar since he was a kid, writing songs in his spare time. But he never pursued it seriously because, well, it wasn't practical. It wasn't what responsible adults did. One day, after one of my seminars, he came up to me and said, "I'm afraid. I'm afraid of what people will think if I quit my job to pursue music. I'm afraid they'll think I'm crazy, irresponsible, naive." And you know what I told him? I said, "You're right. Some people will think that. But some people will be inspired. Some people will look at you and think, 'Wow, I wish I had the courage to do that.' And some people won't think about you at all because they're too busy living their own lives." The question is, which of those opinions matters most to you? The ones who judge you for following your dreams? Or the ones who are inspired by your courage? He thought about it for a moment, then smiled and said, "I guess when you put it that way, the choice is pretty clear. Last I heard, he's not a famous rock star, but he is making a living doing what he loves. He's happy, fulfilled, and living a life true to himself. And isn't that what really matters? When you stop caring what others think, when you start living for yourself instead of for others' approval, you open up a world of possibilities. You give yourself permission to dream big, to take risks, to fail, and try again. But more than that, you give others permission to do the same. You become a beacon of authenticity in a world that desperately needs it. You show others that it's okay to be different, to follow your own path, to live life on your own terms. And that, my friends, is how you change the world. Not by conforming to others' expectations, but by having the courage to be yourself, fully and unapologetically. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. You're saying, "I have responsibilities. I have bills to pay, people who depend on me. I can't just throw caution to the wind and follow my dreams." And you're right. We all have responsibilities. We all have obligations. Living authentically doesn't mean being irresponsible. It doesn't mean abandoning your commitments or neglecting your duties. What it means is finding a way to fulfill those responsibilities while still being true to yourself. It means making choices that align with your values, even when those choices are difficult. It means pursuing your dreams with passion and purpose, but doing so in a way that's thoughtful and strategic. It's about finding balance. Balance between your obligations and your aspirations, between security and risk, between the life you have and the life you want. Finding that balance isn't easy. It's a constant process of evaluation and adjustment, but it's worth it. Because when you find that sweet spot, that place where you're meeting your responsibilities and pursuing your passions, That's when life really starts to sing. I once knew a woman. Let's call her Sarah. Sarah was a single mother of two, working a job she hated to make ends meet. She dreamed of starting her own business, but she was afraid. Afraid of failing. Afraid of not being able to provide for her kids. Afraid of what others would think if she took such a risk. But Sarah was smart. She didn't quit her job and dive headfirst into entrepreneurship. Instead, she started small. She began working on her business idea in the evenings after her kids were in bed. She saved every penny she could. She educated herself, learning about business and marketing in her spare time. It wasn't easy. There were nights when she wanted to give up, when the task seemed too big, the goal too far away. But she persisted, and bit by bit, her business grew. 2 years later, Sarah's side hustle was making enough money that she could reduce her hours at her day job. A year after that, she was able to quit altogether and focus full-time on her business. Today, Sarah's company is thriving. She's able to provide for her kids and then some. But more importantly, she's happy. She's fulfilled. She's living a life true to herself. And you know what? Her kids are proud of her. Not just because she's successful, but because she showed them what it means to pursue your dreams, to take calculated risks, to be true to yourself, even when it's hard. That's the power of living authentically. It's not just about you. It's about the example you set, the ripple effect you create. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be easy. Living true to yourself, pursuing your dreams while managing your responsibilities, it's one of the hardest things you'll ever do. But it's also one of the most rewarding. Life is short. Too short to spend it living someone else's dream. Too short to let fear hold you back from becoming who you're meant to be. So how do you do it? How do you start living more authentically, more true to yourself, regardless of what others think? Well, it starts with getting clear on your values. What matters most to you? What principles do you want to guide your life? Is it honesty, creativity, financial security, family, adventure? There's no right or wrong answer here. Your values are yours. They're personal. They're what make you, you. Once you're clear on your values, the next step is to look at your life and ask yourself, how well am I living these values? Are my daily actions, my choices, my lifestyle aligned with what I say is most important to me? For many people, this can be a wake-up call. They realize there's a gap between who they are and who they want to be, between the life they're living and the life they want to live. And that's okay. Recognizing that gap is the first step towards closing it. The next step is to start making choices that align with your values. And I'm not talking about big life-altering decisions here. I'm talking about small, daily choices. Maybe it's choosing to spend an hour reading instead of watching TV. Maybe it's having that difficult conversation you've been putting off. Maybe it's saying no to a commitment that doesn't align with your priorities. These small choices might not seem like much in the moment, but over time, they add up. They shape your character. They define your life. As you start making these value-aligned choices, as you start living more authentically, you'll find that you care less and less about what others think. Because when you're living true to yourself, when you're aligned with your values, you develop an inner confidence that no amount of external validation can match. Confidence isn't about thinking you're better than everyone else. It's about being comfortable with who you are, regardless of how you compare to others. And that kind of confidence, it's magnetic. It draws people to you. It inspires them. It makes them want to know your secret. And the secret is simple. Be yourself. Unapologetically, authentically yourself. Now I can hear some of you thinking, But what if being myself means being different? What if it means standing out, going against the grain? To that, I say, good. The world doesn't need more copycats. It doesn't need more people playing it safe, coloring inside the lines. The world needs originality. It needs people willing to think differently, to challenge the status quo, to blaze new trails. Every major advancement in human history, every breakthrough, every revolution, they all started with someone who was willing to be different. Someone who was willing to stand out. Someone who was willing to be true to themselves and their vision, even when others didn't understand. So if being yourself means being different, embrace it, celebrate it, use it to make your unique mark on the world. Of course, this isn't always easy. When you start living authentically, when you start pursuing your dreams and being true to yourself, you're going to face resistance. You're going to face doubt, both from others and from yourself. There will be people who don't understand, people who think you're crazy for taking risks, for pursuing your passion, for daring to be different. But here's what you need to remember. Their opinion of you is none of your business. Let me say that again. Their opinion of you is none of your business. People's opinions are shaped by their own experiences, their own fears, their own limitations. When they look at you, they're not seeing you as you really are. They're seeing you through the filter of their own perceptions. So why would you let their filtered view of you determine your choices? Why would you let their limited understanding of your potential hold you back from becoming all that you can be? Instead of worrying about what others think of you, focus on what you think of yourself. Are you living up to your own standards? Are you being true to your values? Are you becoming the person you want to be? These are the questions that matter. These are the standards you should be measuring yourself against. Because at the end of the day, you're the one who has to live with your choices. You're the one who has to look in the mirror and face yourself. So make sure you're living a life that makes you proud. A life that's true to who you are and who you want to be. Now, this doesn't mean you should ignore all feedback or criticism. There's wisdom to be gained from others, especially those who have your best interests at heart. But it does mean learning to filter that feedback, to take what's useful and leave the rest. It means developing the discernment to know the difference between constructive criticism that can help you grow and negative opinions that only serve to hold you back. And it means having the courage to stay true to your path, even when others don't understand it. I remember a young entrepreneur I mentored years ago. He had a revolutionary idea for a product, something that had the potential to disrupt an entire industry. But when he started sharing his idea, he faced a lot of skepticism. People told him it wouldn't work, that he was wasting his time, that he should stick to a more conventional path. For a while, he was discouraged. He started to doubt himself, to wonder if maybe all those naysayers were right. But then he did something remarkable. Instead of giving up on his dream, he used that skepticism as fuel. He worked harder, refined his idea, addressed the valid concerns people raised. And you know what? A few years later, his product hit the market, and it was a huge success. Those same people who doubted him were now asking how they could invest in his company. When I asked him how he found the strength to persist in the face of so much doubt, he said something I will never forget. He said, "I realized that their disbelief in me didn't have to become my disbelief in myself." That's powerful, isn't it? The recognition that other people's perceptions of you don't have to define you, that you have the power to believe in yourself, to trust your vision, to stay true to your path, regardless of what others think. And that's really what it comes down to. believing in yourself, trusting your instincts, having faith in your ability to figure things out, even when the path ahead isn't clear. Because here's the truth. You are capable of far more than you realize. You have potential within you that you haven't even begun to tap into. But you'll never discover that potential if you're constantly looking to others for validation, if you're always seeking someone else's approval before you take action. Start trusting yourself more. Start believing in your own judgment, your own instincts, your own ability to make decisions. Will you make mistakes? Of course. We all do. But those mistakes are valuable. They're how you learn, how you grow, how you get better. And the more you trust yourself, the more you act on your own judgment, the stronger that judgment becomes. It's like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. So stop second-guessing yourself. Stop waiting for someone else's permission to pursue your dreams. Stop letting the fear of what others might think hold you back from becoming who you're meant to be. Instead, start asking yourself, what do I think? What do I want? What feels right to me? And then have the courage to act on those answers, to make choices that align with your values, your goals, your vision for your life. Because that's what living authentically is all about. It's about being true to yourself, even when it's hard. It's about pursuing your dreams, even when others don't understand. It's about creating a life that's a true expression of who you are, not a reflection of who others think you should be. And yes, it takes courage. Yes, it can be scary. Yes, there will be times when you doubt yourself, when you wonder if you're on the right path. But let me tell you, the alternative is far scarier. The alternative is reaching the end of your life and realizing you never really lived, that you spent your whole life trying to meet others' expectations instead of fulfilling your own potential, that you let the fear of what others might think stop you from becoming who you were meant to be. Don't let that be your story. Don't let that be your legacy. Instead, choose to live authentically. Choose to be true to yourself. Choose to pursue your dreams, to express your uniqueness, to make your mark on the world in a way that only you can.